What's going on? Welcome back to another brand new episode of Skywalking Through the League. I am your host, Bill Sheehy, and I'm joined as always by my Jedi partner in crime, Trey Mitchell. Trey, are you there? How you doing? What's going on? What are you doing, man? What are you drinking?
What am I drinking? Ginger ale, vodka, a little bit of spice.
Ooh, I love it. I love a little bit of spice in it. You doing okay?
Things are great.
Good.
The Kenobi trailer happened. I've seen the Batman. I've been watching Robert Pattinson Vanity Fair videos for the past hour. He is a weirdo, and I love it.
Totally.
I really resonate with him.
I do.
Just as a person who's just strange.
This is really weird. I have not been able to stop listening to Something in the Way by Nirvana since it happened. Since I saw the Batman, and I've only seen it once, and that was a week ago. So we're here. We're having a good time, and we're joined by some very illustrious guests. Noah, what's up, buddy?
Illustrious guest.
Illustrious guest. We are joined by. We'll start with the most important. Our good friend, the sexy, the illustrious, Alden Diaz. Alden, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. I came to fight tonight, so I'm just getting energized. I'm getting in the zone, really feeling it. Trying to imagine that Trey is everybody that I don't like, because I love him too much. So I have to close my eyes and imagine something else to be able to fight him.
I got you.
I'm drinking black coffee right now, like an adult.
What the hell?
At 8:10 in the evening. Good for you. I appreciate that. That does feel like an adult thing to do. I appreciate that. So
absolutely.
There's nothing else in it. No sugar.
There's sugar. There's sugar. It's
okay.
Cafe Bustelo with some sugar.
Okay, awesome, good. A man of taste. We love to see it, and we're also joined by. Well, let's not give her too much. It's Annie Sheehy. It's my sister.
Leia to your Luke.
It's my best friend. It's my best friend. It's my sister. We don't care. Blah blah blah. She is just a woman in her 20s living in New York City. Just every stereotype.
Watch out for West Elm Caleb.
Yeah, that's true. You should.
Can't hear y'all.
Why can't you hear us?
Can't hear you.
Why?
I don't know.
We can hear you.
Yeah, but can you hear us at all?
I can't hear you now.
Let's
let me remove her.
Is this
let's pick her and then.
Can you hear us now?
Nothing.
Okay.
I'm going to communicate to her in the chat. Tell her to leave.
On.
Leave and then click the link.
Headphones on.
All right,
okay, this is going great.
She's gone.
Okay, she'll be back.
It was weird because it was working before the show.
That's weird. Okay, So anyway, we will wait for my sister. She'll be back here in a second. But let's give a little breakdown of what we're going to be talking about today. And I kind of want to start with, obviously there was a big Star Wars thing that came out yesterday. But before we get into that, I know you've talked about what you're drinking, Alden. You've talked about what you're drinking, Trey. Tonight's drink, the official drink of Skywalking Through the League tonight, is the RW. And you're thinking, what's the RW? What does that mean? It's the Richard William, or the Dick Bill, if you will. 2 ounces of bourbon, an ounce of simple syrup, an ounce of lemon juice, and an ounce of pomegranate liqueur. It's wonderful. I'm having a good time.
Pomegranate liqueur. That sounds awesome.
Listen, it's what I'm all about. So take your drink. A cheers to all you people watching right now. Alden, Trey, Annie, when you get in there.
I can't get over that.
He's a man of refined taste. No, of course
not.
No,
it's fully caffeinated. What do you think this is? This is Cafe Bustelo, man. Not a sponsor. This is the stuff right here. It's the lifeblood. Yeah, I mean, if you reach out,
they're watching. Do what you want to do.
You guys are open to all sponsor opportunities, right?
Pretty much.
If there's any adult products that are watching and they want to get in on it,
I've talked about the Skywalking Through the League douchebag, which would be really fun. I think that would be fun. But anyway, so tonight's show is going to be about the Kenobi trailer that we got yesterday, and we'll talk a little bit about the Entertainment Weekly spread that they did as well. But before we get into that, I want to talk about the Amidala Initiative. For those of you that don't know, there have been all around the country. There have been some awful anti-trans bills that have been going around state senates, and in particular in Texas, where that asshole Greg Abbott has basically made it a crime to do gender affirming therapy for kids in Texas, which is wrong. He's an idiot. We don't support anything that he does. And the Amidala Initiative is a wonderful initiative started by creators in this fandom to help the kids that need this gender affirming therapy. So we've actually put it in our description for the episode on YouTube. And before the episode started, I talked to Ben, who's one of who is the organizer for the Amidala Initiative. And I asked him, like, what can we do to help? Because there's obviously a GoFundMe. There are different creators that have put their voice to the initiative. But this is what he's said, what he's trying to emphasize. And he said, I've mostly just been trying to emphasize that regardless of the administration stepping up, the Biden administration stepping up to try and halt this legislation, it doesn't remove those people from power, and advocacy is more important now than ever. So basically, if you can give, absolutely 100% give to the Amidala Initiative, but your voice means something. Saying that you don't support what Abbott does, saying you don't support what any of these state legislators do, being an advocate for trans kids is now more important than ever. Be that advocate. We can all do it. Use your voice. I know it doesn't feel like much, but it could mean the difference. It really could. So please, if you have the funds, donate to the Amidala Initiative. But if you don't have the funds, just talk. Just say, hey, I support trans youth. We need to protect trans kids. Like, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, protecting trans kids. And that's it. So once again, if you can give. If you can't, say something. And with that, I want to transition into our Star Wars talk for the day. Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Heard of him?
Heard of him? He's a good Jedi. I think it's been my most anticipated Star Wars anything since Disney bought Lucasfilm. And after, leakers said that something was coming in November, we finally got it in March. So they were right in the end. So we got our first trailer for Obi-Wan Kenobi. The show that's coming out on May 25th, when we are all on our way to Star Wars Celebration in May. And I just want to start with our overall thoughts on the trailer. What worked, what didn't work. And I'll start with you, Alden. What were your overall thoughts on the trailer?
I was immediately just taken aback.
Annie?
Annie?
I can hear you.
Can you hear us? Okay. Awesome. Alden, finish what you were saying. Sorry.
Victory. No, we're just getting started. Perfect timing. I was taken aback by this trailer because it much has made a lot of the distinctions between teasers and trailers, teaser trailers and first looks and stingers and sizzles and all these different varying terms. And you see teaser trailer, and I think that I had, not that we should ever lead with our own expectations, but I couldn't imagine them selling this beyond what you need to sell it with. Give me the first look at Ewan in costume, which they had already done with Entertainment Weekly, which we'll talk about. We'll talk about them being on the same day, because I thought that was interesting too, and how I didn't think this trailer would come because of that reason. But just the amount that was shown, no legitimate plot. We don't know what takes him off planet. We don't know what Reva's point of view is as its Inquisitor. We don't know what's going on with this, what seems to be like an execution, and Owen is there. There's a lot going on here plot-wise that we don't know, but just the fact that we saw Nur, we saw this new planet. What was the name of that? I didn't have it pulled up here.
Diasu? Hold on, I've got it written. It's
in your notes, yeah.
Dayu. And I could be
yeah.
saying that wrong, but that's based on what I'm
Seems like.
Dayu. Yep.
Yeah, Dayu, this Hong Kong-esque city planet, which looks like a little bit Coruscant, but a little underground at the same time. It feels like Nar Shaddaa from Legends and
That's
a
a
lot
good
of that
call.
stuff, and from
Good call.
KOTOR 2. From KOTOR 2, baby! That's the stuff. But yeah, it definitely feels just like much bigger, much grander. The music choice, I mean, that's a whole conversation in and of itself. To go that hard, I think that everybody, when the Lucasfilm logo came up in that gold bronze and then faded away as the choir of Duel of the Fates, the John Williams choir kicked in, it was just super mythic and over the top, and there will be humor in this, no doubt. I mean, Kathleen Kennedy even said the original scripts were too bleak when they were first writing the show, and that's what caused the rewrite. I've also heard that maybe those original scripts were too similar to Mandalorian, and that might have been part of it as well, but that's not fact, so I'm not going to like litigate it here. But the idea that this will still, of course, have humor. Kumail Nanjiani's in the cast. Like, there's clearly going to be some fun, but it just looks like it's distinctly big and distinctly moody.
Thank you very much, Rip. But basically, any character in the trailer, I think that's true.
Yeah,
Annie, I know you're a Star Wars fan, but I don't think you're as invested as we are. You don't live, breathe, and like actively look for leaks. What were your thoughts on the Kenobi trailer?
I mean, I thought it was good. I thought it was exciting. When the Duel of the Fates happened, the only thing I can think.
Oh no! Oh no!
She froze in perfect point.
Annie,
The Riddler got rid of her Wi-Fi in Gotham.
Okay,
You're
start from where you were. Okay, go again.
Okay. Anyway, I hate technology. Where did you lose me?
Duel of the
Basically, Duel of the Fates. Oh, did she freeze again? Oh my god. Okay, we're.
Ooh. Anyway, where did you lose me again?
Duel of the Fates.
Oh, God.
This is like a comedy
I'm so
bit.
sorry.
It's all good. Keep going. We'll do it till we finish it.
Every time I hear Duel of the Fates, all I can think about is you deciding that you want to have a lightsaber duel.
She's talking. Oh no. Okay. We're having some technical difficulties here.
It's me. It's just me. It's no one else.
Okay, I got you. So let's do
Move
something
on.
simple.
Move on.
Let's do something simple. Did you like it?
Yes.
Okay. Thumbs up if you did. Okay, awesome, and we'll see if throughout the show if things get better. Trey, what were your thoughts on the Kenobi trailer? Did you like it? Did you not like it? How erect were you? How not erect were you?
I didn't think we were going to get a trailer that day. It really did surprise me. I mean, like the Vanity, Entertainment Weekly stuff happened at I think 10 a.m. Eastern. And I was like, okay, cool. We're finally seeing some stuff because before that, all we'd seen was the poster, and that there wasn't a lot of Kenobi in that poster. Very, very, very small guy in it. But no, then pictures came out, and we saw some of that new character, Reva. We saw some Owen Lars, which was cool. We saw some Kenobi, and I was like, okay, I'm good with that. That's enough for me. And then I was driving somewhere, and the trailer came out, and I was like, holy shit, I didn't see that happening, because before that there was that Disney investors thing where a bunch of old white guys were just talking about being racist.
Dude, the investor call was a disaster.
My guy Noah was he was watching it and telling us what was happening. And he
I don't know if y'all were listening to Knights of the Nerd Academy last night, but we did the math at what it takes to get in that call, what you have to spend to be to be considered an investor.
What bills you have to
pay over $6,752 just to be on that call.
That's
So
like
that
Amy's
dude-
monthly rent in New York City.
I know it is. Like that's what it is. She's got one room and that's it. And it's $6,000. And
Yep.
Jesus Christ.
but
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's totally crazy.
But yeah, besides that, I thought it was really cool
Mhm.
hearing Duel of the Fates. I honestly, the first thing that gave me chills was just Obi-Wan being like, "The war is over. We
Mhm.
lost." And like I got kind of like Endgame vibes from that, like
Mhm.
with like the first Endgame trailer where Steve's like
Mhm.
talking to like the therapy session. He's like, "We lost, though. Like it's over. Like we can't go back.
Mhm.
We lost," and that was really cool for me.
Mhm.
And then obviously just hearing Duel of the Fates was electric, satisfying, sexual, healing.
It's-
It was great. And then, well, there was one moment in it where I was like, "Ooh, that looks weird." When I'm sure we'll talk about
well,
that.
we will.
But,
I already know what it is.
Whatever could that be?
I don't know what
but
that could be.
Seeing Luke like through the lens of Obi-Wan, just like kind of making sure he's okay, and him just kind of like pretending he's in like a starfighter was just so beautiful and so cute. And he looked so much like little Anakin,
Mhm.
and like the parallels and the themes, I guess, that has for Obi-Wan. Because the first time we've seen Obi-Wan on Tatooine, he finds this little shithead Anakin, and now he's like 20 years later, he's there on Tatooine still looking at Anakin's son. Like he must have had like a moment where he just looks at the
moments
camera.
that
He's like,
are, yeah, it's like
I just had a thought that I think they're definitely going to do in the series, where it's, you know, when Obi-Wan first meets Anakin, what's the first thing he says? Pleased to meet you,
shithead.
but like in
Yeah.
a very like,
oh, that Luke will say,
Yeah.
"Pleased to meet you."
Yeah.
I think there's going to be lots of like
yeah, there's going to be
cute
lots of
callbacks like that. Like the
Well-
one I said on Twitter is that when he has the blaster on the roof,
Uh-huh.
he's going to do a so uncivilized.
civilized.
oh,
Like,
totally.
he has to.
Absolutely.
You're a
has to.
Jedi.
Yeah.
Pleased to meet you.
The pleased to meet you, but I also think that wouldn't it be kind of effed up in a good way if somebody refers to Obi, maybe now already going by Ben at this point, probably, as a pathetic life form or something, because that's what he referred to Anakin as,
Mhm.
and not to his face, but to Qui-Gon. Like, don't tell me we're picking up another pathetic life form. Like Phantom Menace Obi-Wan, he was ready for the trials, but he was kind of an arrogant prick sometimes.
Mhm.
That was something that he had to grow out of. Like Qui-Gon loosened him up, and he was more stickler for the rules than Qui-Gon, and that was the beauty of their dynamic. But with all that gone, for him to now be on the planet where he did not, like he just kind of waited around the ship.
Mhm.
He didn't go out into the city and like meet Shmi Skywalker. He didn't have those experiences. So for Obi-Wan to be here, it's going to be a lot of there's a lot of weight. There's a lot of weight on that. So
There
him
is.
seeing Luke, I thought was huge.
And I think, I guess my overall thoughts on it is like, and it kind of transitions into my next point. I think this is the best Star Wars trailer that we've gotten. You know, I think the bar for me is like, I love the Rise of Skywalker second trailer and the Celebration trailer. I love I think you mentioned it last night when we were on Knights of the New Republic, Alden, the second Chewie we're home for the Force
Yeah.
Awakens. For
That's
me,
probably going to
Every
be the
Force
bar
Awakens
forever.
trailer is like above.
For me, the bar is the like Monday Night Football Force Awakens trailer, where it was like that for me was like
The one that's like, there are stories of what happened.
exactly
And
that
it's
was
the
true.
Han and Leia love
Annie,
scene.
Annie filmed me my reaction to that trailer like in 2015.
It was
And,
an
like-
Eagles versus Giants game. The score was 10-7.5. It was brutal.
100%. And like
Look at this.
that's it hits that bar for me because it's there's just so many things happening. I think like I said yesterday, I think that it tells us a lot about what's happening in the series. It tells us a lot about where Obi-Wan's mind is. Like you mentioned earlier, Trey, the war's over. We lost.
Well,
like that's where Obi-Wan's going to be in this series. Like I think
Even
that
going
tells us
back
a
to
lot.
that, like,
Go ahead.
obviously we like Duel of the Fates because it's like a slapper that I'm going to play at my wedding and funeral just
Mhm.
because like it has to be played at two amazing life moments for me. I guess not amazing, but like Duel of the Fates, what is that? When do we first hear it? We hear it when Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon are fighting against Darth Maul for essentially the fate of the freaking universe. because if Qui-Gon Jinn is able to train Anakin, we don't get Darth Vader. Probably we get a completely different branch universe. That is the duel.
I mean, that's the iconic Dave Filoni speech from Mandalorian Gallery. Like it's where everyone shuts up and just lets him talk for like 5 minutes. Like the fate of the boy. And so for it to play again with the fate of the other boy, and the fact that we know what George Lucas's opinion is on who the chosen one is. Anakin is the chosen one, which is the generally accepted answer. The characters in Star Wars don't necessarily know that, because Yoda says like a prophecy that may have been misread. I like that idea.
Lauren, I heard this exact theory on Force Center today.
Isn't that theory just like basically what happens in Fallen Order? Like that's just like.
But maybe Reva will live, or
what Joseph Scrimshaw mentioned of like why that is like semi-plausible, I guess, is because like she's the only new Inquisitor that like is a full-fledged, like she's a new character. She's not just an obstacle. Whereas like we know the Grand Inquisitor and the Fifth Brother are going to survive this. Like we know their outcomes, but we don't know hers. So I think it'd be really interesting. But yeah, that is definitely like it's kind of you can see the similarities there with Trilla.
Are we gonna do like predictions at the end, like harder predictions? I guess. Okay, so I'll table this that way we don't derail too far. But I'll mention something about Reva. But just the weight of Duel of the Fates, like Trey is saying, it's that nostalgic choice. It's also like we were talking in our text group chat with Scotty from Bombadcast, who was having a big day yesterday. with all this. Well, I've said this on a couple places. I was ready to take a nap in the middle of the day, right as the trailer dropped, and I had my head on my pillow, blanket over my head, and Taylor, and something possessed me. I don't know what it was. I was like, I need to check my phone, and I checked it, and I just saw trailer, Teeler. I was like, is this a bit? Like, you could never tell. Because I knew the investors call was happening, and then so I ended up watching it. But I love the ideas. I love seeing every time I see the Lars Homestead, it means a lot. It means even more now, knowing what we know in canon, that Obi-Wan would leave toys for Luke by Shmi's grave. That's in from a certain point of view. The fact that we know that Rey will leave it all sort of to rest finally at this spot some 30, 40 plus years later. It just has so much weight. This period in the galaxy, the actual fate TM of everything is being decided right now. This show takes place in the 3-year time jump in Solo, a Star Wars story, where Han goes to the military and then we see him after. It's in there. So it's like Han Solo is being formed at this time. Luke and Leia are being formed at this time. Obi-Wan is getting over the trauma at this time. Like everything that will decide the future is being put into motion. That's why I think we're going to see the training and trying to tap into Qui-Gon. Like maybe we don't see Qui-Gon, and we'll talk about that more in predictions, but that leads sort of like into this moment as well, is that who is this voiceover to? I think it's to Yoda, personally, because we know that they were communicating throughout the time. Makes sense. Like maybe Yoda's like, hey, you should go talk to the boy, and he's probably like, no.
Would that make sense? Yes. I kind of think that it's Qui-Gon, because like I think Qui-Gon is the eternal optimist even when he's dead, and so I think he's gonna be telling him like, the Jedi can come back, like train the boy, blah blah blah, and then I think in a moment of weakness, Kenobi is basically going to say like exactly what he said in this trailer: "We lost. Like the war is over. Like there's nothing to be gained from here. We have to stay hidden."
Yeah, and I think that's what's going to motivate Obi-Wan. Like it's going to take a lot, and I think that again, shout out to Joseph Scrimshaw, who I believe in their episode on the trailer said it's a big sticking point for a lot of people, him leaving Tatooine. But if leaving Tatooine was the strategic choice, the Inquisitors are clearly there. We see Owen having a face-off with one. Leaving just to, throw them off the scent might be the best move. I think that getting involved, it might be Qui-Gon, the guilt of Qui-Gon, that makes him do it. because he'll feel like I owe, especially when Vader comes into this story, which I was glad he wasn't in the trailer. I like that they're holding that back. It makes a lot of sense for Obi-Wan as a character to think like, I can't just let this lie. I told Qui-Gon I would look after the boy. I told him I would train the boy. If he's still alive, I need to do this.
Right.
I can't. I owe it one try.
And I'm going to try this again because Annie's opinion is one that I trust and one that, she's not fully into it as much as we are. Annie, do you think that Obi-Wan leaving Tatooine makes sense? Is it something that you want to see? Because I think what we've been conditioned to think, like before the series comes out, is that like Obi-Wan was just on Tatooine. He didn't do anything. He just helped. He just watched over Luke. What do you think? Does that bother you?
Not really.
Okay, gotcha. So like, it's you're willing to like take that jump to like, okay, yeah, he's gonna be off planet. It doesn't really matter to me.
Sure.
Okay.
I trust the writers and the.
That's so comforting. That's so
it makes sense. Like especially if they were Inquisitors like that were going to sniff around Luke, that Obi-Wan would like go off planet to have them follow him instead of following Luke, because like I think everyone was like kind of confused at first when we started to hear little tidbits that Obi-Wan was gonna go off planet, because that seemed like so out of character to like leave Luke behind. But if Luke was in danger, then that makes sense.
Especially if Owen makes him. It could be like Owen saying, they're here because of you. They don't know about the kid. Get the hell out of here. And then Obi-Wan returning could be what breaks up their work. Because I think that Owen and Obi have a working relationship at this point. Like, all right, you stay about 100 yards over there. Maybe we'll drop off some food for you. And, because I brought you the kid. I trusted you. So at that point, they're on good terms. Yeah. But I think that, by New Hope, he's actively anti Obi-Wan.
Right.
And is like, he's this and that and blah, blah, blah. So maybe Obi returning is Owen's like, you're not supposed to come back, idiot. And that might be what sort of sends their relationship. Because in the comics, in the Marvel comics, later down the timeline, Owen's yelling at him. He tells him, haven't you killed enough Skywalkers? Like, it's, he's super bitter.
I think, I wanted to talk about this later, but I think just bringing it up now, in the EW spread, one of like the quotes that really stood out to me was Deborah Chow talking about Joel Edgerton coming back as Owen, like, which is not necessarily something that I was particularly excited about before. Like, oh yeah, that makes sense that he's back. But like, she basically said something along the lines of like, thank God George cast Joel Edgerton as Owen, because, and I said this last night on Knights of the New Republic, I think we got more acting from Joel Edgerton in this trailer than we got in the entirety of Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. And I am so excited to see that man eat. Like, I want to see him.
He's a phenomenal actor.
He really is. And like,
he brings a lot of weight to a character that doesn't like him playing that role. I think really elevates that character.
I think
as
so
if it was just like a random actor, like Joel Edgerton being that character. Gravitas.
I don't know what it was, but seeing that picture with him and Reva, like, it just like you feel the emotion in it.
You feel the danger.
Yeah, 100%.
Because like it's a literal Inquisitor that I know playing Fallen Order takes about. I think it took me 45 attempts to beat Trilla. So like I don't know how many attempts it could take Owen. That boss battle was rough. That was rough. Oh,
100%.
You really had to parry.
100%, truly. But I'm curious to see what your thoughts on Joel is, Annie. Do you think that, are you excited to see him? Are you excited for your internet to work? What do you think is going to happen?
I'm afraid to speak because I don't know when I'm going to get cut off.
It's all good. Do you like Joel?
Of course.
Okay, gotcha.
Why wouldn't I? He's a good actor.
If Annie just like, I hate Joel, Edgerton. He's my least favorite actor. Crazy.
And then, of course, she freezes here. Anyway.
Yeah, the internet's
it's all good. So, we were talking about Reva a little earlier. They seem to be focusing on her a lot. And I'm just curious as to what you guys think that her role in the series will be. They're kind of, marketing her as like the main villain of Kenobi. What do you think her role specifically will be? Do you think that I think we've mentioned it a little bit where like you kind of are we worried that it might be a Trilla 2.0 or even at this I guess it would be it would be
Trilla fucking
2.0.
rocks. So
I know
Trilla's great.
What do you think what do you think Reva will be? What kind of do you think she'll be? They'll play her as a this is somebody you want to redeem, this is a former Jedi. What do you think her story is?
I see them all sort of satisfying different beats in canon, and I understand people's reservations about potentially repeating, but I think that, the Inquisitors are used to further the story. It's not that they can't be fleshed out characters in and of themselves, like Trilla was. She's an amazing character. But seventh sister and fifth brother, and is it ninth brother and ninth sister?
There's no rhyme.
The third one.
Just throw out a
there's
number from
there's the third one in Rebels. There's the one that's masked. Rebels has 3, and so there's that third one. They're all there to be vicious hunters. They're exactly they're great characters, but there's not in-depth backstory or change for them. Trilla has a lot to her. There's second sister, obviously, as well in Fallen Order. The Ahsoka novel by E.K. Johnston has the one that Ahsoka fights. That's where she gets her white crystals from, because she's able to break that lightsaber mid-fight. I know Annie just read that one. And it's super good. That is a great book. So they could really take this anywhere and sort of do anything. And that's, I think, what is freeing about it is, could this be the Inquisitor that turns back to the light? Could this be the Inquisitor that tries to turn on Vader and maybe gets, some shots in and actually gets to fight back, unlike Trilla, who was sort of killed from behind? It just, there's a lot of potential here. And with Reva and all the Inquisitors being fallen Jedi Knights, what's cool about this is that if she suspects,
is that the case? Are they all?
Pretty sure they all
fallen?
are. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they
if
all
they're
are.
not
They're like
Jedi
the
Knights, they're either fallen Padawans or fallen Temple guards.
Yeah, Temple guards. Yeah, Inquisitor was a Temple guard. I think that
Trilla was
the second sister. Trilla was the Padawan.
The
So somewhat people from the New
definitely
Order
was. I think
ninth sister was. Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's they're, if this is the first one that maybe, because we've seen them hunt people that they didn't have ties with, right?
Mhm.
What if Reva is somebody that Obi-Wan is shit, I knew you. You were you were in a class I taught, or you were in one of Yoda's
I was your
groups.
professor.
It could be something like that where he's I have to let Owen handle this, or I have to stay back because if she will recognize me. That's not a problem that they've had. Kanan and Ezra had great battles, and Ahsoka had great battles with those Inquisitors. There was no personal connection there. Ahsoka had already walked, months prior to Order 66 before the Inquisitorius would even rise, and they didn't think about her. So there's the dramatic potential here, I think, for something like that. Maybe Obi-Wan was really good friends with her master, or something to that effect, or was there when she was knighted.
That's a phenomenal theory.
Yeah, something like that.
That's really good.
Especially if everyone's saying Clone Wars flashback. If it's a Clone Wars flashback and we're all like, yeah, ha ha ha, and then Reva's in it as a younger girl.
So let's do the percentage game of a Clone Wars flashback, because I said something in our group chat later that was basically I think it's happened. What's the percentage chance that we get a Clone Wars flashback? And here's I'll do the parameters, because this is what I think is going to happen. I think you're going to get a Clone Wars flashback with Obi-Wan, Anakin, Ahsoka, and then you've talked about Reva. I think I love that idea. I love that that she's someone who Obi-Wan has seen before, and that's why she's such a important villain in this. let's do over under 60% that you get a Clone Wars flashback. Annie, over under. Good call. Thanks, Annie. Okay.
The audacity of your question.
Jesus, she got it. She really did it to him. She really did it to him. Thank you, Annie.
Annie, give us a I was gonna say give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down. She got stuck again. That's so funny. Anytime that she expresses herself
really
in
good
any
comedy
way,
bit.
It is.
She's being silenced.
I think it's on purpose at this point. Like it's just.
Oh, that's great. Trey, go ahead. I don't know if you have a number that you're thinking.
It's 100%, but like I don't understand this obsession with flashbacks for Clone Wars. Like I don't care to see Hayden in the Clone Wars armor. That's just that doesn't do anything for me. Like okay,
like if it happens, you're not going to be upset, but you're not clamoring for it.
No, in my opinion, that's been one of the more cringe. Like we need to see this happen in the Kenobi show theories, just because like I don't give a shit. I'd rather see Anakin as Vader versus Obi-Wan than like we're going to go back. Also, that puts the question of like what do they do with Ahsoka? Do they put Rosario as a 16-year-old girl, which like I already have PTSD from Freddie Prinze Jr. playing Kanan in Bad Batch as a 40-year-old person.
Hey, whoa, that was awesome.
No, it wasn't.
When he's like, when he's like, that's the only way I know. I was like, it's so good.
It was like the opposite of in BoJack Horseman when William Adult Man pretends to be a grown person. I don't know if anyone gets that joke. That's a kid in a trench coat trying to be an adult man. But
I mean, that's basically what Freddie Prinze Jr. was in Bad Batch.
Yeah, it was
but it's true. I mean, like it's a valid thing. Like it just opens the door, and also it opens the door fandom wise, which like I try to keep the fandom out of my experience the best I can. But I'm gonna get on this thing. I'm gonna get on Twitter right after I watch the episode when I'm on the plane to California, And if we show a Clone Wars Anakin and Obi, people will complain, why did you show us Ahsoka? Why didn't you show us Padme? If you show us Ahsoka, why'd you do her that like that?
I'd much rather see a Clone Wars flashback if it let me see Padme. That's a character that I would want to see.
To see Natalie again in any capacity.
Yes.
Even the tiniest, like the one that I've said is we've seen Vader in various legends and canon sources go to the mausoleum on Naboo. And if there was like he touched her tomb and like a vision of her or something, anything for Natalie to act. I'm way more interested in visions.
Vision would be really good.
I'm way more interested in visions and Force lore. That's how I think we're going to see Hayden. I think it'll be like Ahsoka and Rebels, where a vision of Anakin is behind her, and maybe Obi will be like Anakin, and he'll turn, and then it'll transform into Vader.
That kind of reminds me of Daredevil season 3 when Matt is kind of talking to Wilson Fisk, even though he's not there actually, but like because Matt's gonna go kill Fisk, and you kind of get that back and forth. I could see that with Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Yeah, I mean the power of the Force is like you could do so many different things. Like flashback feels so like small.
And speaking of the flashback, there was another article that EW released today that kind of made me think that we're not just getting like I thought from the beginning, like we've heard that like, oh, it's going to be the rematch between Obi-Wan and Anakin.
The rematch of the century.
The rematch of the century is what they keep saying. I think that Vader's going to take the mask off in that duel because like they basically like I forget what the quote is in the article, and I might have it put here, but I don't have the quote here, but. Basically, what they said was like, they asked, you never ask a question that you don't know the answer to in one of these articles, and so they were like, hey, do you think we're gonna see Hayden without the mask on? And it's like, oh, you never know. And they said like he was playing coy, like he's taking the mask off.
I mean, the fact of the matter is, Rogue One proves with thunder that you do not need Hayden Christensen to do Vader. You only need a stuntman of the right height. So to spend the money and to spend the money on casting, to spend the money on press, to spend the money on hype, events, everything that's going into this, to have Entertainment Weekly interview him, he's gonna be Anakin in a vision, or it's gonna be like Rebels with some sort of like in the duel, his helmet gets sliced or whatever, and there's a piece of his burnt face. Like, I don't think he'll just be like, hey, takes helmet off, because he wouldn't do that willingly.
He can't breathe either.
He can't breathe, but I do think that it comes off, or that maybe he's in the back of the tank having visions of his own. Like in the Charles Soule run, he has a vision of, what if I found Obi and fell to my knees and begged for forgiveness? And there's all types of different variations on how you can play them, but we're at the point now where Vader is a character that could be done in so many different ways that I think that Vader has benefited the most from new canon. Like, all of his comic runs have been aces. Every time he's been brought up, used, expanded upon, Lords of the Sith, or even Anakin, even small things like Anakin's voice in Rise of Skywalker, like bring back the balance, Rey, as I did. Like, even that little bit of Hayden getting back into the role, that little taste was exciting. So it's
a little taste of Hayden never killed nobody. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
We get a little taste.
Little taste of the Christensen, baby. But
I
think Vader and Ochi, baby. That's right. Ochi and Bastoon, as the ladies call him.
Yeah. It's just me and the she's.
We're out here.
Trey went to the banyo.
Okay, I got you. I feel like that's the reason you don't bring Hayden back unless you intend to use him. So like, it makes sense. I think that there is 100% chance that they use it. Like, the mask is coming off. You don't mention something like that in an article. Like, Lucasfilm wouldn't say that unless like they like thought that was a possibility. So I think that it makes the most sense. And like, if you're going to do the rematch of the century, if that's what you're calling it, you can't not show his face and like see the emotion that he has when he's fighting Obi-Wan again. Like, that's just, and especially after like you get the quote from Return of the Jedi, Obi-Wan once thought as you did. I think you are getting Obi-Wan's going to try to bring back Anakin, so that like he can help Luke. He's not going to tell him about Luke, obviously, because that would. But like, because he can't do that. But like, if there's even a 1% chance, he has to treat it as an absolute certainty. So
Jesus, I know you did not just quote that film.
Hold on, let me do it right this time. If there's even a 1% chance that he, absolute certainty. I think that's like that. You bring him back, like it just makes the most sense to me.
And I also think and Trey and I have talked about this ad nauseum via text on Twitter. Like, I was and I said this on Nights as well. I was one of the people like, no Vader in Kenobi, no Vader. Like, I did not want it at all, because I, for years, like a lot of people did, assumed that A New Hope was the first meeting since it all went down.
Right.
With, you shouldn't, when I left you, but now I am the master, and blah, blah, blah. Only a master of evil, Darth. Clearly, when Darth was his first name, Star Wars always being rewritten and changed. Why Obi would call him Darth never made any sense, and it still doesn't. But it's that line, and that line in Return of the Jedi, Obi-Wan once thought as you did. That has been the one that's people have always pointed to, and I always wrote that off as being Mustafar, because he shows up to Mustafar knowing he might have to kill him, but he doesn't immediately show up saber swinging, if you know what I mean. He shows up like, let her go, Anakin. He's yelling at him. They're having this conversation, and I'm sure that if Anakin had begged for mercy right there and hadn't done the backflip and started a fight, there wouldn't have been a duel. And then, they would have proceeded from there somehow. I mean, Anakin probably would have been in prison for the rest of his life, but I always interpreted that as the moment. But having this moment that transitions Obi-Wan from, you were the chosen one, you were my brother, I loved you, etc., to telling Luke in the original trilogy, like, nah, he needs to die. You need to face him. There's nothing left. We need to get the moment that makes him think there's nothing left. Like, I think he's gonna get real close. I think it'll be, again, I keep saying like Rebels, because it's a fucking phenomenal show. not that it needs to repeat these beats, but if you did that layering of the voices, like James Earl Jones and Hayden at the same time, and he calls out to him, and he's
It'll
like,
be so hot. Oh my god,
Obi-Wan, why did you leave me? Like, why did you leave me? Like, referring to Mustafar, like, you left me burning, and look what I became, and all this stuff, and almost turns them, and then you get that switch, and he like doubles down, and he's like firmly Vader. It could be so good.
Like Qui-Gon Jinn, we haven't really mentioned him on this podcast yet. Like, his whole purpose, his dying words to Obi-Wan were train the boy. I personally believe he's going to be in this show, and I think he could be the catalyst that kind of brings Kenobi to go talk to Obi-Wan, or to go talk to Anakin again. Like, he is the chosen one. Like, you need to give him another chance. Like, you need to do your best to bring him back, and that could be the thing that brings Kenobi off planet and that sort of thing. So I just, like Alden said, like, being on Twitter and stuff, you see a lot of people that really don't like Vader being in the show. And I get it, like, at a surface level, but once you examine it further, it makes sense why he would go after him again. Mm-hmm. And also, like, we don't know the story, so I just let the story happen before you completely say that it's like a stupid idea. So,
right,
yeah,
right,
yeah. I mean, there are all kinds of things that have happened that I would have put into that category. So
I'm going to do this one more time, and I feel like I'm at the Barry Gibb talk show in Saturday Night Live. Do you have anything to say, Annie?
You froze. You froze.
It worked.
Yep. Yep. Can you bring up Lauren Romo's comment again? The one she just had. So think about this. I love this. Building off a Trey, Qui-Gon telling Obi must face Anakin again. What if Qui-Gon phrases this or presents it in a way where it's like, to complete your training and cross over and achieve this immortality, you have to face him again? Because what they've done in canon, there's no hard rules about Force Ghosts. We still don't know what the training is, and I prefer not to know. We still don't know how it works. We still don't know how Anakin was able to do it, because he certainly was not trained in this. Maybe it's a chosen one pass, whatever that means. Yes, very good talk.
Annie, she's been exceptional tonight. She really
incredible.
has.
Crushing.
She's never sounded smarter in my
opinion. The crowd is hot. It's rocking. People are ordering more drinks. It's crazy.
Annie, do you have anything to say, Annie?
Stop. Leave me alone.
Stop. This is the longest she's gone without freezing right here.
And it's gonna.
Alden, speak. Somebody else talk.
Okay. All right. I will keep talking. There she goes again. But the whole idea of Force Ghosts, they've really come down to like this idea that it's about selflessness. Like, you can't return for yourself. You return, for those in need. You return for counsel, like everybody has. So maybe Obi-Wan is able to unlock the secret to immortality like Qui-Gon did by facing him. Win, lose, or draw. That's not the point. It's the fact that you didn't give up and that you gave it this last try. Could be super interesting. So
I totally agree. And I want to go back to a point that we had talked about earlier, because I think it's time. I think it's time for a little Inquisitor discourse. Now,
here he comes.
I think universally, this trailer has been adored. I think this is a great trailer. I don't think that anybody has any major complaints. Except for the way the Grand Inquisitor looks in this. And I have two very, very good friends here, Trey and Alden, who seem to be on two very, very different sides. Trey seems to be on the wow, that looks awful bandwagon, and Alden is on the it looks okay, who cares? And Annie, what do you have to say? Anyway,
why do you keep going to that well? It's been exhausted.
No, it's still there. It's still working. It's every single time. It's just happening. So I kind of want to talk about the discourse around how the Inquisitor looks. To me, I kind of liken it to how the genie looked in Aladdin. Like the first trailer we got for Aladdin looked awful, and that was like a year out from the movie.
Yeah.
So like, I think at some point, like you look at it and like this is an incomplete product. I don't think you can judge it fully until the series comes out. But I kind of understand where people are coming from. I don't necessarily agree with it, where they're saying that it looks bad, but I get it. It does look a little off-putting at times, but I kind of want to start. I'll start with my illustrious co-host, Trey. What about the Inquisitor doesn't work for you?
It looks like Megamind. That's Megamind. It looks like fucking Megamind. It's just like, okay, I'm a pretty positive Star Wars fan. I don't nitpick most things. I have a slight issue with Ahsoka's Montrals, like whatever the hell you call them, in live action being shorter than they were in animation. It bugs me a little bit, and they look foamy, and I don't love them. I love everything else about Rosaria's performance. I think she looks amazing. I think she is amazing as Ahsoka. Ahsoka's my favorite character. And if the only thing that bugs me is the freaking head things, that's fine. You know, I thought Cad Bane looked great in live action. Like, it's not an issue where animation to live action needs to like look the exact same. It's just that this looks like shit to me. It genuinely looks terrible. They don't even have the yellow eyes. And like, it's like, it's funny to me. It's genuinely funny to me. We have the thing that, and I know Alden will counter all these fucking points. That species was in Revenge of the Sith, looked a lot better than Rupert Friend looked there. Looked terrible. It threw me out of the trailer at a point that I didn't want to.
He's got a fucking awesome delivery in that line. He's so good.
It just looks so bad to me.
You all right, bud? And take a sip of your drink, bud.
Can I quote?
There's no more sips to be sipped.
My sister Annie has texted me.
Oh, cool.
If I can read this for you, it's the discourse around it. The first one is in response to her not being able to say anything. I simply want to scream and then jump off a cliff. And then, of course, that's the thing. You hear her laughing. That's the one thing that comes through. But then she says, I don't think he looks as intimidating as he does in Rebels, so I kind of understand the discontent. Tell them. And so I'm telling you.
And Lauren's point, he does look different. He looks a little bit different in the comics, but he still looks good. He doesn't look like Megamind in the comics.
So you're talking about, you have no issues with the changing design. You're talking about actual, just like the makeup job.
I wish his head was a little. If anyone's only listening to the audio, I'm holding up my phone right now. I wish his head was a little bit skinnier and a little bit taller, because I don't need it to look exactly like it looked in Revenge of the Sith. I just want it to look a little bit more like that species. I really, really, really like the Inquisitor, and I think the design it doesn't do it for me. It's not an issue of it doesn't look exactly like the animation. It's just like the eyes aren't even the same. Like, why don't we have yellow eye? It took me out of the trailer in a way I didn't want to. So that's kind of my.
Alden, what's your where do you stand on it?
Yeah, so like joking aside, I do understand the pushback. I get it, because there have been some small things. I even had a smaller version of that with Fifth Brother in this, who I think looks cool, looks great. But it was like, oh, his eyes are supposed to be white. You went with the exact opposite color with black eyes. Like, there's little things like that. I know that Rosario, obviously, like some of these are
get a better head, buddy.
Yeah. Hey, buddy.
Confirmed.
Hey, buddy. But yeah, I understand sometimes it comes down to performer. Like, because the conversation sort of before the conversation on this is, why not Jason Isaacs? Was it scheduling? Was it that Jason Isaacs doesn't want to do a couple hours of makeup, which some actors don't, and that's totally fine. I get it. what is
That
the
was my point.
situation there?
Thank
So
you.
like I'm not a person that thinks it needs to be the same performer. Like I love Tia Sakar. Sabine's my favorite. I did not want Tia necessarily for live action. I used to, but she's 10 years older than the character. She doesn't really look like the character model. So it's like sometimes you're not gonna get your perfect scenarios every time, like with Bo-Katan.
If I can interject a little bit, I kind of think that the Grand Inquisitor, is a character that's kind of like ageless, that you can just put a guy in makeup and like, why not be the guy you originally had?
Oh yeah, I agree.
As the voice,
yeah.
like
I agree. I think these are all case by case, right? Like,
right. 100%.
there are some of these cases, and this just felt like one of the ones that was like, oh, easy. Like Isaac's, it's alien makeup, he's got a killer voice. He's a live action actor. Some of these people, like I'm sorry, I know there are people that were dying on the hill of only Ashley should play Ahsoka. I'm sorry, I just don't agree with that. Ashley is a voice actress. I know she's done live action before, but she's a small, like really animated, like happy looking, like Disney ambassador person with that energy. I don't see her as being the mythic older Ahsoka.
And and I think that's that idea of I never thought that Ashley would have made a not. She could have done it if they wanted her to do it, but I think.
Well, she would have put her all into it, no doubt.
Exactly.
It's just case by case. Bo-Katan, you have someone perfect. If they ever bring Fenn-Rau in, you have someone perfect. Right. But when it comes to Sabine and Ezra, you're probably gonna have to make that change because it's just not. They're not either coded the same. They don't look the same. Hera, you have someone that could work. She mocapped her for Squadrons. You never know. So these are all case by case basis. I just thought that Isaacs would be one of those ones, but he's not. It's Rupert Friend, still an excellent actor. It's an incredible, esteemed, well trained actor. Cool. When it comes to the makeup, I agree with the point. Like your Genie point, it's not finished. Trailers get footage at a certain trailer houses. People that edit the trailers get their footage at a certain time. Lars Mikkelsen as Thrawn would be pretty strong. I just feel like it's sort of like they didn't put their best foot forward. Not that the trailer was at all not up to snuff. The trailer is incredible. It just so happens that the first Inquisitor shot is lit with a lot of daylight behind him, and it looks strange. And then the second one is just not angled right. I think that seeing him in action, seeing him snarl some of those Powan teeth, some of the scenes will make it work better. And I just don't think that, and again, this is not a pushback on Trey, because I think that the criticism is valid. I just think that the anger and the vitriol and the snarkiness, not that Trey's doing this, he's not, but people in general that are
he will
ridiculous.
Fight you. I can't confirm. He will fight you.
And he's much taller than me. He'll beat me up. But the snarkiness of they could do it in 2005. Why are they lowering the bar? What's going on? Why are you doing this? No respect for what came before. This is laziness. And
that's so stupid. I'm sorry.
It's so dumb. And I was happy to see Star Trek fans laughing and being you know how often our alien species have changed looks all the fucking time. So it's the alien species are not all going to look the same. The prequel ones, especially with Shakti just had to stand there. It's not practical for stunt work, which was part of why you look at the Ahsoka Mandalorian concept art, the Montrals are bigger because of course they want to do that. It's people think that I do want the helicopter blade. I don't care if anyone thinks it's silly. But people, they just get on these sticking points of aggression, thinking that anybody wants to do these things less than to the best of the ability of the company. I mean, Lucasfilm's makeup and creature department is second to none. They have reasons for everything. And then my last point is, I grew up, and I'm sure everyone here did too, in their own ways or at different times. I grew up reading comics like many nerds did, I'm sure a lot of your listeners have. I am very used to somebody looking vastly different from one month to the next if an artist was changed, if the story arc changed. Batman is on the brain right now because of the Batman. I And
Don't
I can.
turn away.
That sounds good.
Did you know that song existed before the Batman?
No, it did not.
No.
That's not true.
No, it didn't.
That's not
No,
true.
it didn't.
Hold on.
Not
Can I
true.
say something?
Nirvana formed
2022.
for
Nirvana,
this movie.
fake. No one
Nirvana
listened
is
to
a
Nirvana.
fake band.
The
But yeah, like I look at comic books and I see people like this. Like, what do I have nearby? Look at this. I got this action figure of Sam as Captain America. This does not look like the Sam Cap that showed up when he became Cap in the comics. Like, I got this book here of all this. Like, these are all artist interpretations of these characters. They don't all look like there's Obi in Clone Wars armor, but it's clearly Ewan. That's not how he looked in the Clone Wars. So, like, I'm just sort of like, what you are seeing in Star Wars is just how you're seeing it for this look, how you're seeing it for this rendering, this artist interpretation. And that's just generally how I feel. Like, I've sort of tricked my brain into that because it's gonna keep happening. And so I just feel like, why not just sort of like
and
water.
You mentioned like the costume department at Lucasfilm is second to none. Like, I am 100% positive if they had showed us what Cad Bane had looked like in the Book of Boba Fett like 3 or 4 months before the show came out, it would not have looked the same, and I think we would have complained. But like,
yeah, I mean, it's not uncommon in blockbusters at this point to be doing effect shots up to the wire.
Spider-Man did it after the movie came out for the Blu-ray release.
Oh yeah, isn't Toby's costume like they fixed up the webbing? Yeah. And that's the other thing. I don't think, like, especially with, I know this isn't a Favreau production, like the Mandalorian ones have been, but it's not going to surprise me at all if very quietly in the next year the Mandalorian season 2 finale is changed so that Luke looks more like he did in Book of Boba. Lawrence saw me rearranging, putting my medication back. Pills, baby. I'll just take
that. And the pills will help him make him look better too. So I think that's helpful. I think we've all brought up some really, really good points about how the Inquisitors look. How
Annie's just been her words have gone
Annie,
miles.
do you have anything to say? Do you have anything to say? Okay.
She's like a mime at this point.
She's doing great.
And the camera freezes as I say.
Hey, you know what? Vanna White doesn't say much on Wheel of Fortune, and she's a TV legend. That's true.
And I think I want to end the show tonight. I think we all assumed that, like, rightfully so, that because they've mentioned that this was a limited series and that this was a 1-season thing. But I read something today, like in the EW stuff, that kind of makes me wonder if, like, they're just kind of testing to see if they could do a second season. This is a quote from Kathleen Kennedy. About when asked about a second season. It's certainly something we talk about, mainly because everybody came together and had such an incredible time. Excuse me. Ewan had an incredible time. Hayden had an incredible time. So certainly from that point of view, everybody involved would love to see this not end. But if we have to really spend our time asking the question, what would we do if we were to decide to do anything more with it, the Obi-Wan character, we'd have to really ask the question, why? So like I said before, like, I think a lot of us just assumed that we were just getting 1 season of this, but like the president of Lucasfilm saying that, like, the people that were involved would love to see this again. Do you think that, like, there is a real chance that we get a second season or anything? Because, like, the way that I look at it, like, I think the original rumor was like they had like 3 Kenobi movies in mind. So, like, if they turn that into like potentially 2 to 3 seasons of what the stories they had before, I think that would make sense. Do you guys agree with it? What would you like to see? What do you think, Alden?
I think that what I love about Kathleen's, we're on a first name basis, what I love about Kathy's quote is that it's wise in the sense that she focused, like she said, of course, all these nice things, like we're having such a wonderful time, it's incredible, it's great, blah blah blah, stuff that you would say, but she still said like the story would have to be right. We'd have to know why. It's not just going to be like, this is a hit, get a second season. Like, I'm glad we live in the age of TV where people are willing to walk away and let it ride if they want to, if they need to. HBO's Watchmen is a great example. That's a perfect season of TV. Yeah. And Damon Lindelof is like, no, I kind of slam dunked that. I'm going to step away. Like, it's like, you don't need to do it. So I'm glad that they're not like, let's wait and see how it performs. Like, because that's the wrong point of view. Instead it's like, let's,
I think it's telling though that like it hasn't even come out yet, and she's already like,
oh, that's true. Yeah, no,
everybody had so much fun, and like the rumor was they had like 2 or 3 movies before.
Yeah,
if they can find a way to make that into,
I would never say no. I wouldn't be opposed. And since we're in the predictions territory, I'll say what I sort of teased earlier.
Go ahead.
Much has been made of will Maul be in this show? Will they fight? I do not think they will fight. I do not want them to fight. I think that everybody should nut up and watch the animated series and stop complaining, because it's a distinctly American problem that animation is not taken as seriously as live action. If this was a Japanese property, the Japanese fans would just be respectful of the story and they would go and they would just watch the show. Mm-hmm. Americans are like, but I want to see the live action, man, because it's real.
Bill, what did we say on this podcast often?
Star Wars is done best when it's in animation.
That's true. I mean, it's not wrong. Now to that point, my wildcard prediction is that Maul will be in this show. Mm-hmm. And here's what I think is going to happen. And it ties in with what will happen to Reva. I think that Reva, however her name's going to be pronounced ultimately, I think that Maul will kill her, and that's where he's going to get his broken Inquisitor saber. Because we still don't know how he has that.
That's so good.
Now, because he has to go from the saber he has. Maybe not at this point, because no, he's not, because he would still be running Crimson Dawn, because the Obi-Wan show is during Solo. So the events of this show and Han and the events of the show are while Han was in the military and Kira was presumably working for Dryden. So Maul would still be out there being big boss. Now, what I would do is you need to preserve the fact that he doesn't know where Kenobi is until Rebels. Mm-hmm. So they can't meet. But I think it would be interesting if maybe in the last episode he hears rumblings that Obi-Wan Kenobi was spotted on Daiyu. Mm-hmm. And he goes there, never sees them, but instead bumps into the person who was hunting him.
And that's why he's the Shadow. Like, I think you've mentioned that before. Like,
right, is that the Inquisitors have had run-ins with Maul because they see him on Malachor and they go, the Shadow. Like, that has to be a thing. So maybe he shows up, Obi-Wan's already made his escape, Maul is too late, never sees him, doesn't get confirmation if this rumor was true or not, but bumps into Reva, and they duel, he kills her, and ends up with this broken Inquisitor saber. I think that it'll be something like that.
I just think it's a lot for 6 episodes of this, but
you're not wrong. But I guess we're living in the world where like we had Luke's temple in the Book of Boba Fett, so it's sort of like at this point I feel like it's like cards on the table.
I think that's like too. This is not like Book of Boba Fett or Mandalorian, where I think they've like. At least I get the impression that each episode is an hour long. So, like, if each episode is an hour long, that's 6 hours, like, to like explore and to do shit like that. So, like, that makes sense to me. If you were gonna do that, it's gonna be in a 6 hour basically Kenobi.
And that would be the Luke at the end of Mandalorian. Like, that would have to be the end.
Right.
It would be that and then Kenobi settling in his new hut. Because as of right now, it looks like he lives in a cave. He doesn't have the hut yet.
Right.
So I think that this show ends with him. Maybe Owen was like, hey, there's a hut over here, that's cheap rent. And then he moves in, and then I think that it'll end with him opening the chest and putting Anakin's lightsaber inside and closing the chest.
I think that's a good prediction. Trey, what are your predictions for the Kenobi series? How does it end? What are your biggest predictions for the series?
I mean, I think we have Obi-Wan going off planet. I think we have Obi-Wan eventually getting led to Vader. I think we have the rematch of the century. I don't know how that ends, but it has to end with Obi-Wan realizing that Luke is like the key to everything. He's Luke is the reason
like Jar Jar
stays
is.
on. Yeah, he's the key to all of this. I'm trying not to make too many predictions just because I want to really enjoy this, but I don't know. I'm just really excited for it. I think that Pablo Hidalgo tweeted that the marketing is going to be really intense for the show. Excited for that. A lot of people saying on Twitter like, how dare they not market this show yet? Well, it's being marketed now, so there you go. But no, I'm just really, really excited for this. I remember, back in like 2016, 2017, there were rumblings of a Kenobi movie. I remember that, just listening to podcasts about that. It's just going to be incredible seeing Ewan Hayden back. Deborah Chow's direction, really exciting for me. It's a project that I think all Star Wars fans want, and I've been looking forward to. And then not to mention the fact that the first episode is going to come out about a day before Star Wars Celebration, and we're probably going to get a panel with Ewan Hayden, everyone there, and that could just be awesome. And it's going to be a really, really great few months for us.
It is. Totally. And finally, my dear sister, Annie, what are your predictions?
She's taking a minute to process it and think.
That I'm probably going to freeze while I'm saying this to you all. So those are my predictions.
So good. So good.
Champ.
Holy, I think that is the analysis of the night from Elizabeth Ann Preston Sheehy. And I think with that is what we have for you guys tonight. I want to thank my illustrious guests, Alden Diaz, Elizabeth Ann Preston Sheehy. Let's start with Alden. Alden, where can they find you on Twitter, buddy?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at that Alden Diaz, ThatAldenDiaz. Tweeting copiously to the joy of some and the chagrin of others. And then on Octa Radio, Star Wars Podcast, AHCHTO Radio. It's my show, our two sister shows doing Star Wars interviews and breakdowns. I have Alex and Molly Damon from Star Wars Explained on this weekend, talking about the High Republic Del Rey trilogy of Light of the Jedi, Rising Storm, and The Fallen Star. So you could tune in for that. They're two of the best. We had a great time. And then on One Ends on Film Club and Batman Returned with Charlie Ashby. That's his Batman show. Hit me up or don't. Whatever. So,
or block him, whatever you want to do.
Or block me. You're doing me the favor. You're doing me the favor, honestly. Trey, you can't block me. You're my son. Show some respect.
Oh shit. Okay. Anyway, Annie, if I will try to finish it if I can. Where can they find you on Twitter?
She98.
There it is. She's my sister. She's wonderful. You should follow her. She's my best friend. So you should listen to what she has to say because she is smarter than me. She is prettier than me, and by golly, people like her more than me. So follow her there. Trey, where can the people find you on Twitter, buddy?
Find me on Twitter at the Trainer, tweeting about numerous things: the Denver Nuggets, the Batman, Spider-Man, and Star Wars. Those are my 4 ones right now. Gonna go see the Batman again this weekend. A movie that I absolutely loved, and it was a culmination of like my 3 favorite Batman stories, which are Year One, Long Halloween, and Telltale Batman. It was freaking awesome, and I think we're gonna do an episode next week on it. So if you're a fan of that, tune in because I really like.
I'm so excited, and just to go off what Trey was saying. I love the Batman. It's one of those movies that like I watched for the first time and like it's grown every time I've watched I haven't watched it again. Every time I think about it, I like something more. Every time I listen to music, I like it more. Every time I listen to Something in the Way, I like it more. It's just it's wonderful. And like I said earlier, March 10th, 2021.
the city is consumed by fear. But I consumed the city
That's not.
because I'm Batman.
That's a lie.
Does he even say a date
No,
in the film? No, he doesn't, right?
he says October 31st,
That's
Halloween.
right. That's right.
And then he ends it with November 6th.
He's like,
But he
I
doesn't
am
say
the
like,
shadow.
I am the shadow. Hope. You guys can find me on Twitter at Star Wars Bill. If you're not already, please follow Skywalking Through the League on Twitter at SkywalkingTL. Once again, thank you guys so much for listening, for watching. Thank you to my wonderful guests and my sister. And as always, Godspeed, Rebels.